Okay, just running through the terms and definitions for this first part on Durkheim on suicide. First, to talk about positivism. One of the founding fathers, Auguste Comte, not only coined the term sociology, but called themselves a positivist. What we're saying here is that from its very start, sociology, there were philosophers that people draw on that say are sociologists like Karl Marx, but they weren't talking about sociology at the time. But from its foundation as an academic discipline, it was associating sociology with scientific method. As it says, just as nature is made up of objective, observable facts, such as rocks, cells, stars, etc., that are external to us and which exist whether we like it or not, society is an objective, factual reality. It is this idea that this thing called society exists before we're born, exists independent of us, and exists long after we demise as individuals. So it is an entity separate and distinct from individuals. It is something outside us that exerts an influence on us. So it then goes on to say society is a real thing made up of social facts and exists out there, independent of individuals like the physical world. Thinking now more specifically of Durkheim and positivism, positivists say reality is not random, but patterned. This is something that's essential to the idea of a scientific approach. So things do not randomly just happen, but there are patterns that replicate the natural world in terms of seeing trends and statistics, whether we talk about divorce, whether we talk about crime rates. It is patterns that we're looking for. It is looking to say in one area there's more of one and so on and so forth. So it is patterns rather than randomness. As Durkheim goes on to say, there are real laws that are discoverable in the social world, that it is not just left to the social scientists, that it is indeed part of the social world. So just like science has revealed the law of gravity, sociology can discover laws that show how society works. In choosing suicide, Durkheim was making a point. He was trying to smash a home run, if you like, or he was trying to make it evident that sociology was a great thing and it should go forward. The decision to take one's own life does not appear to be one that comes from societal processes. So he went out to prove that it does. I'm wrong colour. So he set out to prove that it does. And this way, Durkheim hoped to secure the status for sociology alongside other sciences. So to recap, and what I'm saying here is, you pick suicide because it seems such an individual act. It seems to defy scientific explanation and demonstrate that even this act is something that comes through social process. It is a product of norms, values, status, and roles rather than an individual decision, and thus establishing sociology in that it can predict the real world. It has a say in what's going on. He used something called multivariate analysis, which consists of comparing frequency. Frequency is the key thing. Looking at the frequency of various factors. So, for instance, he looked at the frequency of suicide attempts amongst the married compared to the unmarried, and found that suicide happened more frequently amongst those not married than those that are married. He also looked particularly at the different types of societies. So he categorized Protestant societies as different from Catholic societies, and saw that Catholic societies had less incidence of suicide. It's about counting numbers. That's what it is. How often in this category does the thing occur, and how often in another? Over a 20-year period, the research was conducted, and there were clear patterns that emerged. And it was seen that across Europe, and between married and unmarried, that there was a social explanation. So in other words, because Durkheim found that there were different rates of suicide amongst the married and unmarried, there's a pattern. That's what we're talking about when we talk about patterns. And when it was found that Catholic countries or even Hindu countries had less instances of suicide than Protestant countries, this suggests that there is a social explanation for suicide rather than an individualistic explanation for suicide. Social cohesion. Social cohesion is about that thing of sticking together as a society. Why do we follow the rules? We need to have a respect for our fellow individuals within society. Why do we stand up and fight when our country and culture are under attack? Well, we stick together. We are bonded together. And as it says, one of society's functions is to make people aware of their social bonds. That is to say that they have a shared interest rather than a selfish individual interest, which Durkheim thought that where they would have without society's presence. Social integration. Higher levels of social integration, the higher level of social integration, the more harmony there is in a society, the more everyone fits in, the more everyone knows their place, the more people accept and understand how society runs and takes it as is, the more harmonious that society is. And if you remember, stability is the key thing for functionalists. Society, wrong color here, achieve a level of social control by bringing people together on the basis of shared common values, creating a value consensus. We stick together because we share the same set of values. We stick together because we believe the same things are right as a society. He goes on to say that the family is the most important area where this is transmitted, but the social institution of religion is vitally important in reinforcing this. Sorry about this. Okay, lastly, religion. Religion provides moral underpinning to shared values. This is the reinforcing role that we're talking about. However, different religions put different emphasis and stress on individual fulfillment. This is that thing that we were talking about earlier. Protestants emphasize self-fulfillment, whereas Catholics and Hindus stress the importance of the group. So to some religions, the collective is the most important, what happens in society. And to others, it's what the individual does that's important. And in this way, Protestant-based countries have less social integration, and would explain why there is greater recourse to suicide.